We're going to have a fun round now, okay, where I'm going to pick a random question that comes to my mind, pose it to one member of the panel and ask him whether he or she sees it coming in this budget and whether it will be a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm going to start with Himanshu, and I'm going to ask him a pointed question that's going to irritate him. Do you think this budget will cut subsidies?
No, I don't think this budget is going to cut subsidies, at least the kind of subsidies that you are talking about. They might continue with the cutting of subsidies on diesel, for example, the 50 paisa. That's something which was going to go on. But in terms of the social sector subsidies, I don't see this government.
Any reason for that?
No government at this juncture, given the situation that we are in, is in a position to cut down on. And it's not just a political choice. I think governments understand it much better than most people here. And that's where I'm coming back to what Rathin was saying. If government did not have a role to do in certain things, then probably we will not be having a discussion like this. We are having a discussion precisely because we expect the government to do certain things, whether in terms of creating jobs or in terms of providing basic infrastructure, basic health services, basic education services, basic employment services, or providing for basic nutrition, whatever is there. At one level, the issue, my answer to all these subsidies issue is very clear. Somebody asked me as to what do you see as the success of NREG? The success of NREG is when nobody is demanding any job. Success of your food security is when nobody is queuing up a PDS shop to get the bad quality rice at 2 rupees or 3 rupees. If the market was doing it, why would people go and do that?
Correct.
But as long as you have the level when you have 40% malnutrition, when you have a very high number of population who are not finding jobs, then you have to continue doing that.
Okay. Rathin, I know you indicated your distaste for things like this, but I'm going to ask you, do you think there will be a cut in tax rates, personal tax rates? It's something everyone's been talking about. Should there be one?
Should there be one? It actually doesn't make a difference. You can cut them if you like or raise them. Because personal tax rates don't matter to solving our fiscal deficit. So if you want to cut them to 30% and it makes
just to make people happy,
go ahead. Or you want to raise them and make some other people happy, go ahead. What you need here is the government to announce a roadmap to closure of GST by December. And I'm very, very optimistic that will happen. And I hope that GST includes petroleum and many other things. But as far as taxes are concerned, be my guest. I think the finance minister there has lots of freedom. Because if you cut your personal tax rate by a little bit, it may make people politically or ideologically unhappy. Or I raise it by a little bit, another set of people become unhappy. But to the fisc, I promise you professionally, it doesn't make a jot of a difference.
GST, you said petroleum, alcohol also, right?
Alcohol I'm easy because it's impractical and you will need taxes.
And it's one of those things that will really create
But petroleum is something that is still being resisted, and I think it's very, very important to bring it into GST. Otherwise, the cascading effects on your SMEs and others and the kind of variance it will create in a level playing field for states will be very high. But I think GST is something that we are looking for. And again, I think in the budget what we need is a roadmap to the next budget. This budget is a signaling budget. There's very little that can be done in this budget other than accountancy to solve the immediate problem of rating agencies. You have to keep them happy. So you have to give them something to feed them. Once that problem is solved, I think the rest of the FM's attention should be on signaling कि अगले साल अच्छे दिन कैसे आएंगे.
Do you think the budget will announce a divestment roadmap of public sector companies? It's again one of those things that everyone is speaking of. It's one of the things that your previous government between 1999 and 2004 is best remembered for. In fact, some people say that had the BJP come back to power in 2004, MTNL, BSNL and Air India would now be private sector companies. So do you think it will announce? Do you think it should? Do you think it shouldn't?
No, whether it should, yes, it should announce. But will it? It may not. And I think it's too early to talk of divestment and also to enter into this debate of public sector, because we still require a roadmap. Till 2004, as you very rightly said, this process was going on. But this was part of the total reform process. Now, if you look at the worldwide analysis of the reform process, it has got 10 commandments. The first commandment is there a mandate for the reform process? And the second command is, if there is no mandate, is it necessary to create one? So this mandate is what fought for. I mean, this is for the first time in the last 30 years that a government has got such a huge mandate. And this mandate is not for this purpose. This mandate is for something else. We have a huge youth who have voted for this, a huge amount of middle class which has voted for this government for certain 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons. So these are the agendas that will have to be attended now. But should the government be in the business of running business? It's a huge question, big question, which has to be addressed. But I don't think this issue should be addressed in the next 10 days. The next 10 days are not the proper time to address this issue. It will have to be addressed, but not in this budget, probably the next budget.
Okay. And Debolina, last question of this round to you. Again, if you look at the period between 99 and 2004, one of the things that people say, that economists, businessmen, everyone says the BJP did right, the NDA did right in that time, was this whole highway project which they did, which had a huge multiplier effect, created access to markets for lots of people. Do you expect to see any such huge project that is likely to be announced? If so, what do you think it could be?
I guess is the DMIC corridor. I think work has already started and that will be strengthened, and also the Eastern Freight Corridor linking Kolkata with Amritsar, and that in a way, if that works for linking the underdeveloped parts to the developed parts and helping the economy of the underdeveloped regions like Bihar or poorer areas, districts of West Bengal to generate jobs for themselves, I think that is a welcome approach which we should go for. But otherwise, if there is a siphoning of the resources from the eastern corridor to the western part, that is not we really aspire for. And also, I think transport sector should really get into it, because we are not being able to provide housing and basic amenities for the poorer sections of the population and also create jobs. So if there is a linkage between maybe the peripheries of Delhi with Delhi through the NCR corridor or to some other transport arrangements, so that poorer people can come to the city, work and go back, and the small towns close to the big cities act as dormitory towns, I think that could be a welcome approach.
Thank you. May I request you to please give the panelists a round of applause. Thank you.